Gas. And Simon Langenfelder picking up his first podium, his first win of the campaign, his first win since the opening round of 2022 Maxley Basin, where he also went 1-1. And for Simon Langenfelder, his 6th visit to the podium, his 2nd as a winner. Congratulations, Simon Langenfelder and Red Bull Gas Factory Racing. We'll be back in a moment with MXGP Race 2. Welcome back for MXGP Race 2 here, the MXGP of Spain into Xanadu Arroyo Molinos. And we are just stone's throw away from the city's capital, Madrid. And as you can see, if you've been with us all afternoon, all day long, the racetrack here really just starting to become technical. Deep ruts, hard edges, gnarly bumps. Nothing other than what we expect from MXGP these days. But we're getting ready for MXGP Race 2, 30 minutes plus 2 laps. And we'll see the highlights from Race 1 in a few moments' time. But what a race it was as well. There was all sorts of stuff going on up and down the field. But fantastic location, fantastic region. See that building there? That is the trophy that, not that, because obviously that's way too big, but there'll be a replica of that trophy is what the riders will be taking home. Hello everybody, welcome to Spain, the MXGP of Spain, round 6, MXGP Race 2. It's going to be rowdy down there amongst the grandstands because of course there are 2 Spaniards that the home fans will be cheering for today. Jorge Prado, who was 2nd in Race 1, we'll see the highlights in a moment, and Ruben Fernandez, who was 5th. And they both still have a chance of not only winning but making the podium here this weekend. There's the racetrack, just over 1,600 metres long. A long sweeping first turn before it tightens up in the middle part of the racetrack and opens up again. But they're having a great time, we're having a great time as well. MXGP riders on the way back from their sighting lap. And where are we? We're a couple of minutes, so about a minute away from these MXGP highlights. I'll bring Adam Wheeler in from On Track Off Road real quick. Adam, the first race was fantastic, not giving anything away. What can we expect from Race 2?
Depends on the start, Paul. We saw Mattia Guadagnini, performing extremely well out of the gate, but then when it came down to race pace in the second half of the moto, predictably, it was Jeffrey Herlings who was the man. And we're sitting on the edge of history here.
All right, well, look, as these guys take their seats, let's take a look at what happened in MXGP Race 1 earlier on. As we said, it was a pretty interesting affair. The gate dropped for MXGP Race 1 earlier on in the day. Glorious sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. It was Jeremy Seewer, number 91, with his 3rd foxhole shot of the season. His teammate Glenn Koldenoff right there behind him, and it was Mattia Guadagnini who snuck into 2nd, Prado 3rd, Herlings around the outside in 4th place. And not too far away, Ruben Fernandez as well. But if you're going to annoy the home fans, do it right in front of them as well with that pass on Jorge Prado. Then Prado got the last lap, if you like, for a while. Herlings made a slight mistake. He got back into 3rd in Prado, but then almost carbon copy. Herlings down the inside of Prado again, retook that 3rd position. Meanwhile, Jeremy Seewer on lap 6 started to fade. We've learnt now that he's got food poisoning. He was sick going into the race. He lost the lead to Mattia Guadagnini, then 2nd place to Jeffrey Herlings. And then the floodgates opened. He eventually came home in 8th place because Jorge Prado went through. Fans love that. And then even Glenn Koldenoff went around the outside of him as well. There's Ruben Fernandez lurking in the background. He also went through, so too did Alberto Ferrato, Calvin Balandron. And a very tough race for Jeremy Seewer. It'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the table in this 2nd race that we're about to see. But the lead changed hands on lap 12 of 18 as Jeffrey Herlings went by the Red Bull Gas of Mattia Guadagnini. A little bit more delight for the home fans as Ruben Fernandez made that pass on Seewer. He eventually came home in 5th position. Alberto Ferrato also went through, as we said a few moments ago. Ferrato coming home in 6th. Balandron 7. In the end, nothing left for Mattia Guadagnini. It was an easy pass for his teammate Prado into 2nd position, but it was Jeffrey Herlings with his 3rd win of the season in this first race. Prado, Guadagnini, Koldenoff and Fernandez rounded out the top 5. we have a fantastic carnival atmosphere. Before we go anywhere, though, Lisa Leyland was down on the grid, and she caught up, I believe, with Rui Gonçalves, if he's around, 4-time Grand Prix winner.
So we're almost ready for the final race of the day, MXGP Race 2. But let's speak to a rider, a blast from the past. It's Rui Gonçalves. Rui, it's nice to have you back at MXGP. But just tell us a little bit about you, because you've been racing at Dakar and other rallies, haven't you?
Yeah, sure. You know, lately I've been with Dakar, with Sherco, and but yeah, motocross has been my family and a lot of friends here for a long time. So it's always nice to come here and catch up. So really nice to be here.
Now, obviously, we've had quite a big change this weekend, what we saw in qualifying race. Who's your money on in MXGP?
Yeah, from what I saw in Moto 1, I mean, Jeffrey had a really good speed. He came from back and went up front and won the race. So and he's normally stronger also on second moto. So yeah, but also Jorge Prado and Ruben Fernandez riding at home, I think he will do a good job. So I think these are the three riders that they look good out there, and wishing all the best to everyone. And once again, I'm so happy to be here. This has been my family for so long, so quite happy.
Now, it's been a while since you've been retired from motocross, isn't it? But you're now on the start line. The gate's going to drop. Do you miss it? Do you miss this feeling?
Yeah, obviously, you know, by being so many years here and being behind this gate is always a special feeling. So I think, yeah, every time that gate drops, the adrenaline comes up, and you feel like, well, that was again another start, and but yeah, now is a different thing, another sport I'm doing, you know, with rally and Dakar. So, but really happy again to be here.
Finally, the hair. Talk us through that situation, Rui.
Well, you know, it was half grey, so I just said, like, let's go all grey and kind of blonde, so just changed. My mom was also blonde, and and today's Mother's Day, and I lost her 1.5 years ago, so yeah, it's just something special for her as well.
Well, it looks fantastic. Great to see you again, Rui. Okay, good. That's Rui Gonçalves there. It's time for the final race at MXGP Race 2.
Great to see Rui Gonçalves here, Adam, and yeah, blonde, grey blonde.
Well, I have enough grey hairs myself, Paul, so I, you know, no comment. Good effort, Rui.
Take a look at the calendar then. For the first time this weekend, actually, as you can see on the left-hand side, we've faded out with the first 5 rounds. MXGP of Spain is where we're at now. We've got a weekend off before we go to France, and then a week off before Latvia, Germany back-to-back. Then we pack the cases for a couple of weeks in Asia with the 2 rounds in Indonesia. And then when we come back, things will happen thick and fast from the MXGP of Czech Republic. And then the big one at the end of the year, look, Monster Energy FIM Motocross Nations, Erne. Can't wait for that one, Adam Wheeler.
Yeah, back in France again, Paul. It doesn't get much bigger, really, in terms of the audience for that particular race. It's how many years? 75 years now? It's way more than that.
Oh, yeah, 75, maybe issue 76.
Yep.
Issue, sounds like a magazine. Well, just enjoy these scenes. If you've never been to MXGP before, obviously, why not make this or a French round on the calendar? Jorge Prado lines up on pole position then for the 4th time this year, edging out Jeffrey Herlings in the qualifying race. Jeremy Seewer, who was sick in race 1, that's why we saw him fade from 1st to an eventual 8th place. Food poisoning for Seewer. Guadagnini, fantastic ride in the first race. This is how the riders go to the line, of course, based on their qualifying result. But Adam Wheeler, Jeffrey Herlings, a 3rd time race winner this year. And at a point where we were just expecting him just to get back to full speed, it's taken not as long as we all expected, because he's already been doing this all season long.
Yeah, there he is, Paul. And I think crucially, it's that, you know, Jorge Prado has won most first motos this season and tended to, I think he's only got 2 top 3 finishes in the second race. So maybe Prado kind of saving some powder for you know, a victory here that would give him the overall in front. I mean, listen to the crowd, you can hear it in the background. It's incredible here. A bigger turnout than last year. You know, we've been at this circuit since 2020. As we mentioned, you know, in the MX2 race, purpose-built for this particular occasion. Guadagnini, also his teammate there on the Red Bull Gas and Jorge Prado. But as we said also on the studio show, Paul, Ruben Fernandez, Jorge Prado giving Spanish motocross a lot to feel happy about at the moment.
If you are joining us for this second race live, no Romain Febvre, no Maxime Renault, of course. Romain Febvre went down in the first turn here in the first run of the start in the qualifying race. Nothing more than a concussion. He actually came to the track today. He actually wanted to ride, but obviously he'd had a head and sensibly told not to do so. Maxim Renault, broken foot. Wish those guys well.
And this is probably one of the longest start straights on the calendar, Paul. You know, like you said yesterday, Mattia Basin up there, Lockett as well, traditionally, but it's a fast entry into the turn, and it just didn't work out for Roman Febvre. But let's see who gets the whole shot here.
Well, the Fly Racing 15-second board about to be turned to 5, and as we say that, the heads go down, the revs go up. All eyes on this run down the long start straight into turn 1. A good jump for Guadagnini, 101. Seewer up the inside of him once again, and Fernandez, number 70, if he can come away, and he does come away with a foxhole shot, but he gets muscled with Jeremy Seewer, but it's Ruben Fernandez who leads and takes his first foxhole shot of the season. Great atmosphere.
Where's Prado? Sets down there, 6 on the inside, 5th place.
Great atmosphere here as Fernandez leads in front of the main grandstand. Seewer 2nd, Guadagnini 3rd, Herlings there just coming into view in 4th place. Then we've got Hatcherell in 5th, and then Prado 6th, Bogus, Valandra and Guillaume Koldenhoff rounding out the top 10. But Seewer leads already halfway round this opening lap. Seewer, number 91, knows that if he is sick like he was last time around, he's got to put everything into the early part of this race for it not to happen again. But Ruben Fernandez said, no, it's my home Grand Prix. I want to lead. I'm going back in front if you don't mind.
Yeah, and Fernandez, Paul, you know, the big grandstand on the left over the triple, that's kind of dedicated to him. There's a lot of fans from Galicia, the region of Spain where he's from, just above Portugal. I mean, just hear the air horns. That's not just for Prado gaining ground as well, just in the top 5, but of course for the HRC man.
The last time we saw Ruben Fernandez lead a Spanish-style Grand Prix was in Argentina last year. I said then he needs to keep his emotions in check. Guess what? He threw it away just coming out from under the trees spectacularly. Hopefully he can get this one home for the first lap and a couple more just to really sort of keep this place buzzing. Oh, Guadagnini round the outside of Seewer, takes 2nd away from the Yamaha man. So Mattia Guadagnini definitely up for this one, knows he can be on the podium for the first time in the Premier class. Still a long way to go though.
Yeah, for Seewer as well, Paul, he needed that good start. We spoke to him this morning. He was eating a cupful of raw ginger and just water. He said he wasn't feeling too good with his stomach, so undoubtedly he's going to suffer deep into this race. And Herlings in 4th place is, you know, perfectly positioned to do a similar kind of performance he did earlier in the day. He'll just settle in these last couple of laps, keep Fernandez in sight, and then pull the pin. Boy, it might do already.
Yeah, Jeffrey Herlings around the outside. It's going to be 3 different lines for 3 different riders, and we've seen how the outside-inside combo works, but not this time for Herlings. Gets the door shut in his face by the number 91 from Switzerland, and a mistake there from Herlings as well. Just got cross-rutted on the run towards turn 5.
Where is Prado as well, Paul? He's got to keep this group of leaders in sight, because it's going to be hard to make back 3 or 4 seconds on this particular track as it gets rougher and rougher.
If you're wondering who the number 6 is behind the 84 of Jeffrey Herlings, Benoit Patcherel, former 3rd place finisher in the MX2 World Championship, former Motocross Nations winner as well for France. But he's got a great start on that private Debarch Yamaha.
Inside.
But Herlings forceful, again denied by Jeremy Seewer. Seewer is putting up in this first few laps here, desperate to keep those riders behind him. Maybe he's feeling a little bit better. Maybe he's got everything out of his system. Who knows? But he certainly emptied it all out on the track in the first race, that's for sure.
Well, Herlings zapped, you know, Mattia Guadagnini in the first moto pool, but maybe he has a little bit more reason to fear Ruben Fernandez getting much more of a gap. I mean, who knows? But, you know, Jeffrey is particularly anxious to gain positions here just in the first couple of circulations.
Over the line for the first official full lap then, Ruben Fernandez with a 1.7 advantage in the fastest lap of the race on that opening lap. Guadagnini here coming towards us now, the 101 in 2nd, 91 Seewer 3rd, 84 Herlings 4th, the 6 of Benoit Patcherel, the French privateer. He's in 5th place with a fantastic start. These drying conditions might be right up the Frenchman's street. Prado in 6th, Koldenhoff 7th. Valandra has lost a couple of positions to 8th, so I'm assuming that Prado and Koldenhoff both got caught by Valandra early on. And there is Prado just tipping around the inside now in that 6th place. Coming into land just here, the championship leader.
It's not quite his style, Paul, but Prado's going to have to shake it up here because, yeah, okay, he's got the rest of the moto to, you know, implement his pace, but, you know, if there is too much of a gap, then he's going to give himself too much to do. And you can see the fans in the background there, you know, Prado just being wheeled on by the section of the crowd here, but, yeah, I mean, Patcherel's not going to be particularly easy to pass in the next lap or two.
Prado has built his championship lead this year on 4 qualifying race wins and a 50% win rate in the first 5 rounds. 5 race wins, 5 rounds, first moto every single time. But not this time around in Spain, because obviously losing out to Herlings this time around.
Well, as we said, he hasn't taken higher than 2/3 positions in the second motos, which we're seeing the second moto here today. So if he gets up to 2 or 3, he's going to be, get up to second. That'll be his best result of the season, but it's hard to see it at the moment.
Guadagnini finding his way into second position. These two are just staring at each other as they launch up over the triple, but Guadagnini now up in a second position. Seewer down to 3rd. Hopefully the floodgates don't open as quickly or as severely as they did midpoint of the race for Jeremy Seewer.
Who was staring at who there, do you think?
Yeah. Probably Guadagnini.
Guadagnini rode excellently for the first part of the first moto pool. I mean, his lap times are incredibly consistent, but as soon as Herlings got close and applied some pressure, they dropped by 2 seconds. So I do wonder if Mattia has the ability, the fitness, the stamina to really keep up the consistent pace that we're seeing. There's still 25 minutes left to go in this race.
Put the flag out now. Ruben Fernandez on the podium in his home Grand Prix, 3rd overall, but it's very, very tight at the top. Herlings with a 1-4, 25 and 18 will be on 43. Guadagnini, who is ahead of him in second position, 2 riders ahead of him, is on 42. Fernandez on 41, Prado on 37. As always, 25 minutes, 24 minutes plus 2 laps to go. MXGP Race 2, still a long way to go. And you cannot rule anything off of the table as far as outcomes of this final race go, and therefore the podium.
Yeah, Fernandez he's just doing all he can do at the front there, Paul, but a 2-second lead over Jeffrey Herlings. I mean, that's a matter of 2 laps work for the Dutchman. I think, Fernandez is really going to have to turn it up a little bit more, or hope that Jeremy Seewer somehow, manages to block Herlings, cause him to lose even more time. But I think we're set up nicely for a real showcase finale, knowing the way that Herlings has ridden so far this season and what he's shown us.
See how dry the track is becoming now. Loose rocks coming to the fore as Koldenoff applying the pressure to Jorge Prado.
Koldenoff's been riding well. I had a good first moto as well, Paul, but just missing the starts. I mean, if he could somehow harness whatever Jeremy Seewer's doing on the Yamaha. Oh, so close.
Koldenoff having a sneaky look down the inside of Prado there, but the Spaniard denying the Dutchman. But Koldenoff desperate to find a way through. Doesn't want the rest of the guys to get away from him. Over the line, 3 laps complete. Fernandez extending his lead at the moment for Team HRCs. 2.2 seconds clear of Mattia Guadagnini, with Seewer 3rd, just over a second further back. There's Fernandez down past pit lane. Then you've got Guadagnini, Seewer in black. Then Herlings at the top left-hander now. Then we've got Paturel about 3 seconds adrift. Then Prado another second behind the Frenchman. It's a lot of work for Prado to do from here, Adam Wheeler.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. And I think full credit to Benoit Paturel. I know we're only into the opening phases of this moto, but to be running top 5, if we look further down in the top 10 as well, you can see at the bottom of the screen, I mean, the likes of Calvin Verlanderen, who's been a permanent fixture in the top 10, and Valentin Guillot as well. Alberto Ferrato, who's been fast in the first moto, but not really getting the start on this occasion.
Paturel just legging his way through. All of a sudden he's getting caught here by a hard charging Glenn Koldenoff, who muscles the private Yamaha rider aside. The 2 riders almost come together, but you know what? Good thinking, that quick thinking from Koldenoff. He was going to go down the inside. That route got shut down. He went round the outside and still made it happen. Koldenoff now up in the 6th place.
Yeah, Paturel, that wasn't a commentator's curse that we're crediting him, was it? They just lost the 2 positions, but, understandable, these 2 factory guys behind him. And, Koldenoff as well, just looking to apply some pressure to Jorge Prado. And Prado, how many seconds now? Is this a replay of, is this a slip? Oh, that was the move through.
Yeah,
so Prado was a 5th.
So that was Jorge Prado down the inside of Paturel to move into that 5th place. Koldenoff didn't take too much longer to find his way through into 6th either. So where is Paturel? He's 7th. Verlanderen about 1.3 adrift, coming into view any moment now. The Geben van Ben Rooij Yamaha rider, number 10.
Yeah, Verlanderen there.
Yeah, Verlanderen looking menacing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right, Herlings trying everything to find his way past, and actually not looking good. Okay, not looking good. He's on the top step of the podium, but just not able to push. I think Herlings maybe just relying on other riders fading in the final third of the race. We'll pick up on that moment in a moment, Adam. So 20 minutes plus 2 laps to go as Jeffrey Herlings closes in on Jeremy Seewer for 3rd place. Is it possible, is it viable to think that Herlings might just be relying on riders around him just starting to lose pace a little bit later on, and he enjoy that sort of like 10 minutes of Jeffrey time that we saw in Sardinia, for instance?
Yeah, I think it's a great shout. I think we're a good 4 or 5 minutes away from what he was able to do in the first motor ball, and that was lower his lap times, increase the intensity, and make the gain, you know, on Mattia Guadagnini. I had a 4-second lead at one point, and it just seemed to vanish as Herlings, you know, really up the pace. But, you know, we're ignoring the fact that he has to pass Jeremy Seewer, who's been making a nuisance of himself so far. Guadagnini, again, I mean, he might be slightly more wise to the Herlings threat, and of course Fernandez. You know, he's going to be wheeled on by the crowd. Fernandez, of course, Paul, from the same region as Jorge Prado, from Spain as Jorge Prado. But, you know, his performances is just...
Jeffrey Herlings just asking just a little bit too much of that bank there.
Yeah, just on the berm on the exit of the corner. I mean, we don't want to imply that he's cruising. I mean, far from it, but...
No, everyone else around him is pushing a good pace, and that is determined by the fact that he's currently 5 seconds off the race leader and the pace setter, Ruben Fernandez, whose gap at the front is now shrinking because Guadagnini has just gained another half a second on him. Mentally, being in this environment all weekend long, you know, for Jorge Prado, for Ruben Fernandez, can be quite taxing, you know, quite challenging. Being pulled from pillar to post, autographs after media session, after TV interview, local news, all the rest of it. And obviously now leading for the first 5 laps as Ruben Fernandez has done. Never really been in this position before at home in Spain. I wonder what kind of psychological toll that is taking on the Spaniard, who at the moment is knocking on the door for 3rd overall here.
Yeah, that's a great shout because, I mean, Prado, the kind of adoration and clamour from the fans is similar to what Cairoli has in Italy. It's, you know, it's on another scale. Prado is the most successful Spanish motocross in the history of the sport, Paul. We can't forget that Spain only had their first Grand Prix win in this championship just 21 years ago. I mean, it sounds a lot, but it's relatively new. Javier Garcia Vico, Jonathan Barragan, the only 2 previous winners kind of in the Premier class, if you like. And now Prado, 2-time world champion. Fernandez, the winner of the first Grand Prix this season. I mean, Spain, following MotoGP, following rally, following enduro, trial. They've got superb athletes in every discipline, but now finally in motocross they have 2 athletes that are battling for, you know, top positions in MXGP, and Herlings just really on the hunt here.
Yeah, really on the hunt. But even
inside,
yeah, Jeffrey Herlings down the inside. Seewer left the door open a lap ago, and Herlings capitalised on it. He rehearsed that move a lap ago, bounced off the berm, didn't quite work out for him. This time Herlings does slip up the inside into 3rd. All of a sudden, Seewer now down in 4th place.
And Herlings, Paul, 17 minutes and a couple of laps. If he can just push up even further, the overall standings, he's, you know, now 1 point ahead of Mattia Guadagnini. That'll be the victory 102, of course.
And that is that will be more than the 101, where he, inverted commas, only tied the all-time win, you know, of Stefan Evans.
I didn't understand it, because if you tie the record, you're automatically the sort of record holder.
Yeah, you are
the latest.
Are the best, one of the best. He wants to be the best, though. I think that's Jeffrey's thing.
Well, 191 moto wins as well. I mean, I think he has something ridiculous like over 7,000 World Championship points. So, you know, if he makes it a 192, goes 102, then, yeah, of course, he has that distinction, doesn't he?
And he has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 152.9 on lap 6. Ruben Fernandez here, the race leader, whose lead is shrinking down to less than 2 seconds now, 154.5, 154.7 for Guadagnini, 152.9. Jeffrey Herlings just knocking a couple of seconds off, just because he can.
I was trying to think of the last time a second rider for HRC had won a Grand Prix, because we've seen Tim Geiger really carrying the weight of Honda's expectations for, you know, well over half a decade in the Premier class.
Yes, it's been a long
Evgeny Bobryshev in 2011, I think, won for HRC, but then Max Nagel.
Won in Germany that day as well, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. I think that was his sole victory.
Yeah.
But then maybe also Max Nagel, when he rode for HRC, winning in Mexico, one of his last Grand Prix wins for the team. I reckon that was around 2013-14. But then, you know, it's been a long wait for the Japanese to enjoy and embrace another rider that's been able to win Grand Prix for them.
Brian Boger's standing construct Honda.
Broken wheel rail by that, Paul?
Possibly, yeah, it's not going to be a tyre issue, is it?
Puncture.
But well, these guys are probably running mooses of some sort now, aren't they?
Yeah,
on a hard pack track like this.
Yeah. Conditions we might find, perhaps we could find similar soil like this at the French Grand Prix next up. Certainly in Tuchenthal, Germany. Long ruts, really hard, sun-baked kind of, bumps and ruts to deal with.
Yeah, they've made a lot of changes to the Grand Prix in France at Villars-sous-Écot, which is there's the 32 of Brent Van Donning, he's out. Let's have a look at the Vauxhall shot right at the start of the race, shall we? And who was it this time around? Once again, if
Fernandez didn't get the best jump,
He didn't get the best jump, did he? But was it Seewer or was it Fernandez? Did Fernandez just run too wide? Seewer, again. So Seewer, 2 out of 2 today, his 4th of the season. But it was Fernandez who ran him wide into turn 2. And he continues to lead at the moment.
Penny for Glenn Coldenoff's thoughts. Really, same bike, but just not able to recreate those starts, Paul. So he's got a bit of a gap now, hasn't he? There's some air between him and also ahead of Prado.
Yeah, so he's 3 behind Jeffrey, 3.5 ahead of Prado.
Herlings on the inside of Guadagnini again.
Yeah, and actually Guadagnini now just looking a little bit tired. It's line choice and things like that. The body language, his shoulders are starting to drop. And Jeffrey Herlings capitalising on that. He knows he's under pressure, does the 101. A couple of corners from now, Herlings may just find himself, and look, you can see him already standing up thinking, okay, I have nothing left to offer. I'll try and give you something coming around this next part of the racetrack. But Herlings, as you go defensive, says, well, I'll go to the outside and make this happen. And that's exactly what he does. Gets on the power. He'll have a hiccup here. But just like he did in race 1, same part of the racetrack. Oh, he was going to go wide. He tried to close down the door. So good effort that from Guadagnini, keeping Herlings behind him in that second position, 3rd place chase. Watch this here. A scrub. Doesn't want to do too many of those. Remember that photo shoot that time?
He doesn't want to.
Goes wide here. Fortunately, there was a new berm around the outside there, but he's all over the back. This is the gap between 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Fernandez all of a sudden, and Herlings, despite that mistake, still the fastest lap of the race in the 52s again. Down the inside, he'll close the door on Guadagnini, possibly be the latest breaker. He is. The Italian comes straight back at him.
Misjudged it there, Jeffrey, but you said it all, Paul. The body language says everything. I think Guadagnini's just trying to delay the inevitable here.
So Herlings, watch this here, goes around the outside. Oh, he also lit up. Good job as well, because they would have clashed on the outside there.
Yeah, just
on the exit of the turn.
Moving his head to one side to avoid the roost. That's another factor, of course.
Great effort this from Ruben Fernandez. He's had 8 laps up front, in front of his home crowd. Unfortunately, if he gets past it, it's going to knock him off the podium, because he's on 41 points. Prado's on 48. He's going to lose 3 points at the head of the field there, but obviously it still depends on what goes on around him. Jeffrey Herlings this time does get the better of Mattia Guadagnini, moves into 2nd place on lap 9.
We can also see from the graphic on the bottom of the screen, Paul, that Jorge Prado has it far from easy. I mean, Glenn Coldenoff on this second Monster Energy Yamaha. They're trying to apply some pressure, and Herlings already right there.
A mistake from Fernandez right on the base of the Monster Energy triple jump just cost him valuable drive. Herlings definitely getting his claws in now. Is he going to win GP 102 with a double race win in Spain? As he goes around the outside, he takes over the lead from Fernandez. It's a drag race to the next jump. And Herlings does go through.
Is that beast mode? Beast mode activated, I think he called it in Portugal.
Beast mode, yeah. The only other rider I know that, well, beast mode is Tomac as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, almost riding similar today, you have to say. I mean, the way that Herlings is attacking those long ruts in the corners, Paul, it's fantastic to watch.
You just hate those ad breaks when you just got to right at the wrong time. But Jeffrey Herlings leads in after 9 laps. Ruben Fernandez there in 2nd position. Guadagnini 3rd. Actually, Fernandez is still going to be on the podium, look, on 38 points, tied with Prado, because he's found his
superior position.
So there may still be light at the end of the tunnel. The Spanish may get to see one of their home riders on the podium. Prado could still do it, but Prado is 1.8 now behind Seewer. That could be Prado's chance of the 3rd step of the podium here at home. Either way, fantastic Spanish Grand Prix. Both riders showing up to the party in Ruben Fernandez and Jorge Prado. Adam Wheeler.
Yeah, Paul, and Glenn Coldenoff's right behind Prado. He's trying to press him as well, so we can see that battle. That'll be, here we go. There's Jeremy Seewer, and then Prado's on the chase. I wonder if he'll get the sign that he needs another position really to make sure of the podium, because after the first moto, and certainly coming into this Grand Prix, you wouldn't have really betted against Jorge Prado missing the podium in front of his fans here.
How impressive is this from Jeremy Seewer, though? Sick in race 1, obviously led for the first 5 laps, eventually faded down to 8th by the time the checkered flag fell. Food poisoning, not able to rehydrate, I guess, not able to take on foods and energy and things like that. Struggled in the first race. He's battling hard here for 4th in this second race.
Yeah, temperature's up nearly 30 degrees as well. 10 minutes to go, but he's doing 155s now, Paul, so I think he's going to be under pressure soon from Prado and then Koldenhoff.
So just under 10 minutes to go then, and Koldenhoff not letting Prado out of his sights. Jorge Prado still circulating there in 5th place, closing in on Jeremy Seewer, but how much more can Fernandez take? He's there in 2nd position at the moment, had about 9 laps at the head of the field. Mattia Guadagnini just there behind him as Herlings completes lap 10 with a 1:53.8. He's already 2 seconds clear of Ruben Fernandez. Guadagnini about another 2 seconds further back. Story of Herlings' race so far in the latter stage. This was on Seewer. That was for 3rd place.
Yeah, and that was the attack on the inside rut, and then he favoured the outside, as we might see on the next 2.
Then he got his outside-inside combination spot on as he found his way past Guadagnini, put him into 2nd, and then Ruben Fernandez was right there, and that was the same part of the racetrack where he found his way past Seewer, but outside line worked for him this time around.
Cuts across here.
And he was able to scrub and close down the door on the Spaniard as he did so. That's been the story of his race and the story of his season. Just a rider that he's never shirked away from responsibility and hard work ethic and all the rest of it. And I think we're just starting to see that real Jeffrey Herlings start to shine through again.
Yeah, he's getting into his groove now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's missed the starts occasionally, also taken a more mature approach to accepting the position that's on the table in front of him in motos, but today feeling confident enough just to really attack this track and go for it. But Prado, I mean, he's going to be wheeled on there, Paul, as he did in the first moto. Really hoping to, I think, get alongside Jeremy Seewer, who could be struggling in the final minutes of this race.
Good to see the majority of the fans still staying here, because even though there probably won't be a Spanish Grand Prix victor at home, as there was in 2020 when Prado just romped it 2 ways, the perfect day for him there. You may remember last year when he fell on the old part of the racetrack, the infield, when he fell from the lead or 2nd position, which cost him a podium or possible overall. As soon as that happened, the stands just started to empty, and it was a very, very quiet place for the last 3 or 4 laps. But good to see the home crowd, the majority of the home crowd, still supporting the efforts of Fernandez and Prado here.
Yeah, it was a double French winner, wasn't it? Tom Fiala, Maxime Renault, who are missing in this class, as you mentioned, Paul, broken right foot. Looks like it could be 2 to 3 months on the sidelines there, depending on how well he recovers from that fracture. But Prado very close here to making a bid for the podium.
Yeah, but some of the last year, wasn't it? Renault Koldenhoff.
Yeah, some of the fans here probably scoring maybe a little bit delicate this morning. For I mean, nearby Real Madrid won the Copa del Rey for the first time in 8 years, which took place last night. So it's been a real bonanza, a sporting weekend for the Madrileños.
You spoiled that for me. I got it on playback.
Apologies for anybody who's wanting to watch the Copa del Rey final, but I mean, the merits of this Grand Prix, Paul. I mean, you can point the finger at the track and say it's not natural, it's maybe it's not old school motocross as people would like to see, but you cannot fault the ambition of this event. I mean, putting this whole thing on for just this one particular time of year, harnessing the will and the big level of fandom for Spanish motocross at the moment, it's totally admirable.
And let's not forget, motocross basically started in fields, and you design a track around that. They've probably got shorter over the years, but that's the same all over the world, on both sides of the Atlantic, even in America, where the practice tracks, Fox Raceway, Park, all those places, they are all artificial now. And it's obviously just here, though, where, you get the more of different terrain.
Yeah.
Clay, hard, rock, Trentino. You get the deep sand of Sardinia and Lommel. We're kind of spoilt in that aspect, that we have so much to choose from along those lines. But when it's ripped and when it's watered, you get this kind of technical element. Makes it difficult for the riders. It's technical, challenging, difficult to pass in some respects as well. And sometimes you've got to take risks, like Herlings has, to get to the front.
We don't get more naturally set than Pietramarata and Arco di Trento, and also Agada last weekend as well. The sort of real authentic motocross tracks, and there are places like this in the World Championship, I believe. I think, you know, you just have to look at the public around. I mean, it's satisfying a need and appetite for the sport. We do have tracks like Talavera de la Reina, which now unfortunately is too compact, it's too narrow to stage a Grand Prix. The likes of Belpuig as well, you know, another worthy venue that I think, you know, has to be looked at perhaps in the future. But, you know, being very centrally based, a short distance from the centre of Madrid, you know, there's a lot of positivity about this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Talavera about an hour south of here, and Belpuig, the one you mentioned, just about, what, 2 hours west of Catalonia, west of Barcelona. But what the organisers have done here, you know, from last lap is literally create a new track, you know, 2020, 2021, 2022, you know, when we were here for the first editions, we had a set circuit. We've come here 2023, they've revamped the whole infield circuit, and it's, you know, brought something different again, you know, more open, more flowing, more for the fans up there as well, you know, because otherwise this whole infield section was very twisty-turny, wasn't it? Because where we are now, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, just the other side of these aero banners, instead of heading right across the front of the grandstands, we went back up into the infield, a couple more twisty turns as we look at Guadagnini just legging his way through, and it's just opened it up a lot more. Yeah, a few more longer straights, but also, you know, bigger jumps up and down that nice, fantastic penultimate corner.
Yeah.
And you were watching the first races from in there. You cannot see how deep, we can see here, but when you're down there on the ground, how long, how deep those ruts are. And as the day goes on, the sun comes out, those ruts here getting dry, they're baking hard, and the speed at which these riders still commit to that is nothing short of impressive.
Oh yeah, and you can see their foot peg deep. I mean, it's like you say, it requires real commitment, and that's why it was so nice to see Jeffrey Herlings on the attack there and taking the lead, moving to the front of this Grand Prix, because, you know, that's the kind of, could you call it risk? That's the sort of manoeuvres you need to be making to be winning Grand Prix. Certainly 102 of them.
Well, he continues to lead, does Jeffrey Herlings, 5 seconds clear of Ruben Fernandez, who is still hanging on to that podium. But which Spaniard will be climbing on the third step? Will it be Ruben Fernandez, third overall on 38 points with a 5.2, or will it be Jorge Prado with a 2.5? If he can find his way past Seewer, number 91, then it will be Prado. But if Glenn Koldenoff goes around the outside of the 61, then that assures the podium for this rider right here, Ruben Fernandez.
I wonder who's going to be the more popular podiumee. I mean, Fernandez is the newcomer, I guess you could say, but Prado has the you know, the statistics.
And Spain do like their motorsport, whether it's MotoGP, World Superbike, Motocross, Formula One, with all those guys. But so far, this guy is not in a bad position, Ruben Fernandez. And just picking up on something that you said earlier on, you know, about, you know, 20 odd years ago, that Spain only had their first ever Grand Prix victory, Garcia Vico. Marc Marquez was here yesterday, as you know, did a pre-grid with Lisa, and even he remembers, and this is the thing about Spanish motorsport, they have good memories. He said, you know, big fan of motocross, has been all his life, even remembers watching riders like Garcia Vico challenging, winning Grand Prix, and this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Mark's from a small town called Cervera, which is very close to Belpuig, and, you know, his parents are actually working in the motor club, you know, around Belpuig when the Grand Prix was being staged there. That's why he can remember the likes of Stefan Everson, Michael Bichon, you know, winning on the sort of the RM250 Suzuki. You know, there's probably kids here today in this crowd that are going to summit some sort of form of motorsport ball, because in this part of the world, motorcycle racing is fantastically supported and followed. I mean, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Jorge Prado perhaps had won, or Ruben Fernandez today, they toppled Jeffrey Herlings, then it would have made sort of evening news. And so it's a big thing, and it's why it's important to have a Spanish Grand Prix in the World Championship.
We'll just need now one in Slovenia again, and then everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
We've got one in Switzerland for Jeremy.
Yeah. Jan Panzer as well.
Jan Panzer,
yeah. MX2 is not just a Geiger show, is it?
And he could be, like I say, it could be a good rider on a 450, Jan Panzer from MX2. But let's get on with this, though. Just under a minute and a half to go. Herlings almost 6 seconds clear. Fernandez second. Guadagnini third. Seewer fourth. Prado still not being able to kind of make any inroads into that lead that Seewer has over him, that currently stands around about 2 seconds. The Yamaha rider just the other side of the double jump there into the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, Fernandez and Prado look like they're going to be taking identical results here, Paul, in which case, like you said, is going to put Fernandez on the podium. But, I mean, we're unlikely to see Herlings now until the last lap. But, I mean, is there any other rider in Grand Prix history that you can remember that has such a thirst for victory? I mean, some of the injuries that Herlings has had and he's come back from, I mean, there's plenty of careers that have been ended by, I think, you know, less.
Yeah.
And, you know, the guy just keeps coming back and setting new standards.
Yeah. Now, it's been an impressive return to form from him in a very short space of time. He's riding a British Championship, I believe, next weekend, just as a thing, just to ride himself into fitness. But, you know, it's how he rolls. So MXGP Race 2, Jeffrey Herlings is going to be 3 laps to go, look, because there's going to be about 9-8 seconds or so on the clock as he goes through now. Race 1 was 18 laps. We've had 15, so it's going to be the same duration. Lap times in the first race, actually. Jeffrey Herlings, 1:52.315 in lap 5. 52, wow, 4:31. So the first race, 1/10 quicker than now, and obviously
still running in 53s.
Yeah, still running in the 53s, but at the same time, you know, the Acherbis fastest lap will go to him at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, the narrative, of course, is going to be, if he carries on the 102, you know, the all-time Grand Prix record. It's nicely done, isn't it?
I want to see a replay of that. Coming out of that left-hand turn, watch how he just picks the wheel up over that. And if we do flash to that, we'll just come back to this in a minute about the narrative of the 102. But Jeffrey Herlings, in fact, just pick up on that again now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if there's no more mistakes, I think we've seen a lot of hallmarks of his career, actually. You know, just utter commitment, drive, physicality, intensity, everything that's built all those 102 Grand Prix wins, Paul. But I think also, you know, we shouldn't also forget the context of this season so far. Yes, it's only the 6th Grand Prix, but now I think he's within 6 points of Jorge Prado in the World Championship lead.
What a day indeed. Jeffrey Herlings then on his way towards the penultimate lap, the 2-lap board getting readied, and he did say, I didn't think he had arm pump in the first one because he was always right there, but he did say after the first race, the first 20 minutes he still struggled, and you know, he managed to ride his way through it, managed to warm himself right up, but it's the second race where he comes alive, but he was just a little bit tentative in pushing his way forward. It was, you know, he was part behind Jeremy Seewer for a long time in 4th place before he managed to find his way into 3rd. But then once he managed to do that, he quickly picked off Mattia Guadagnini and Ruben Fernandez.
I like the way he just, you know, gets on the pegs and forces the bike, uses the bumps and sort of the ridges of the terrain, but then also firmly in the saddle, leaning back, well on the gas, making full use of the traction. I mean, it's a real sort of study, and people have criticised him in the fall, saying it's not the most aesthetic style on the track, but I mean, my God, it's the most effective, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, actually, just after the Liqui Moly Waves ram jump into the left-hander before they come back up towards the final Monster Energy jump, just how he just comes out of that turn, picks up the front end, uses the suspension to compress and clear some holes, you know, horrible bumps, rather than that, you know, right at the back end.
I mean, he's the best sand rider that's ever lived, but when he, you know, he shows he's arguably one of the best riders that's ever lived on any terrain, because, I mean, this is a completely different scenario here today, and he's just been masterful.
Yeah, you see they're coming out of that turn. If we can follow Herlings around that turn, that left-hander at the bottom of the hill there next time around, just to kind of highlight what we were just talking about a moment ago, because every one of these riders that came through there then hits it back wheel first, like, and it just stops you from going forward. You can smooth that out. You know, it's not a particularly difficult technique to do, but if you don't see it, then you're only, you know, sort of holding yourself back a little bit, and it might cost you, you know, 3-4 tenths, but if that's 3-4 times out on the lap, that's almost a second gained or lost.
Yeah. Props to, you know, Jeremy Seewer here, Paul. I mean, we're looking at Glenn Coldenhoff, who's a little bit on the attack late in the moto as well, but I don't think Jorge Prado is going to be close enough to take that position. Still 1 lap to go, of course, and I do wonder if he knows somehow, or if he's had the pit board, or he's doing the maths in his head that he needs that position for the podium. And here is Herlings. You know, we're talking about his style for good reason. I mean, we were watching history being made, so I think it's full credit to him. And, you know, wow, all those victories. I know you've been exhaustive in your research, Paul, so, you know, how many countries has Jeffrey won in since he took his first win in 2010?
23 different countries and 43 different racetracks.
43 different racetracks.
43 different racetracks. So in Italy, he's won 18 Grand Prix, so 5 in Trentino, 3 in Maggiora, Mantova, 2 in Riola, and Fermo, Faenza, 1 in Imola, for instance. Netherlands, 14 Grand Prix victories on home soil. And, you know, Spain, 3, 2 of those in Talavera, 1 here on course for his second Grand Prix victory here. There you go, look. Tap, over the top, nice and easy, job done. And that's just why Jeffrey Herlings is, you know, standout at the moment. You know, yes, you can say Jorge Prado, probably one of the most technical and, you know, talented riders on a motorcycle in MXGP. But there are still some things that this guy does that no one else does.
Yeah, I did an interview with him yesterday, just asking, trying to get to the bottom of why he just keeps going and going and going. I mean, he signed a new contract with KTM. He's not going anywhere. He's 28 years old, 29 in September, I think. You know, after all he's been through, and Herlings, you know, we don't often see him celebrate like this on the last lap either, but I think he knows he's close to, you know, really putting his name right at the top of the record books.
Yeah, and I actually said at the start of the year, you know, because I did the pre-season or the pre-race press conference in Argentina, and I said, so you're looking at maybe a few rounds to get going again and all the rest of it. It was like, yeah, and we didn't know at that point. And then you watch the qualifying race, how difficult things were. You knew that things would come around, but it looked like it was going to be a very, very tough challenge for him throughout the year. You know, mental fatigue or fitness, racecraft, all those things. But, you know, and I thought, well, if it doesn't work out and it does become a very, very tough season for him, you know, he could walk away and you wouldn't blame him at the end of the year. But this guy is turning things around and turning things around quickly. And Jeffrey Herlings rides out of the final turn. He wins the Spanish Grand Prix, and history has been made here at Into Xanadu Arroyo Molinos. Jeffrey Herlings tops the all-time win list, 102 Grand Prix victories for the Bullet. Jeffrey Herlings on Red Bull KTM. Ruben Fernandez crosses the line in second position. Adam Wheeler, what a day for Ruben Fernandez on the podium at home in Spain. Commiserations for Jorge Prado, same points but 4th overall. But what a day here in Madrid.
Yeah, fantastic narrative for the sport here, Paul. Jeffrey Herlings taking his first Grand Prix win at 15 years of age, and here he is in 2023. Missed the whole season, of course, last year with injury, coming back and making history. And then, of course, we see, you know, Ruben Fernandez giving the home fans something happy to celebrate as they come round to the front of the podium here. Been good racing, a real masterclass by Herlings of these conditions as well.
So 102 Grand Prix victories, 43 different racetracks, his 4th victory on Spanish soil, 2 down the road in Talavera, 2 here now into Xanadu Arroyo Molinos, just outside of Madrid. And it's the way he's done it as well, Adam, you know, just... you know, bided his time early on, and then whether it is he saw a chink in their armour or he just found another gear, but once he homed in, that was it. It was game over for everybody else.
Yeah, and we think about his career. I mean, the Euro circuit in Volkenswaard, it's, you know, it's... I mean, what did he have? 7 years in a row unbeaten there? I think the riders were getting to the point in MX2 where they realised it wasn't worth turning up and thinking of victory.
Amongst all of this, it's worth pointing out, Mattia Guadagnini comes over the line in 3rd place, and that's good enough for 2nd overall. 2 third-place finishes, 40 points. Mattia Guadagnini, his first podium in MXGP. But here's Lisa Leyland with our record breaker, Jeffrey Herlings.
Jeffrey Herlings, 102 GP victories. You made history today.
Pretty insane. I mean, even to do the Lions Den at Jorge's home place is pretty nice. Just want to thank myself because I'm the one who did it. So thank you to myself, and obviously the team did a good job, and everyone else who was involved in this long journey to come from 0 wins to 102. So I'm happy to be leading this record just by myself now, and hopefully many wins will follow. And this weekend I felt pretty good, so hope to keep improving like this. So we'll see.
Okay. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Can we see that's the positive thing and the disadvantage of the immediate post-race interviews, isn't it there, Paul? I mean, there's a recap of Herlings' career, but he's thanked himself, which, you know, you'd expect him to do, but also thinking of Jorge Prado and his home turf and that victory is a bit cheeky.
Some of the Grand Prix victories along the way for Jeffrey Herlings, starting with that one, round 3 of his World Championship campaign, when he was victorious in the Netherlands, of course, a double race win. A couple of rounds ago, he was 100 Grand Prix victories, 101 last week, 102 here today. And Jeffrey Herlings, just simply the best.
In Jorge Prado's home turf.
Yeah, already he wants to thank himself.
Yes.
For all the hard work.
And he's just thinking, you know, he's not thinking of the record immediately. It's more the championship situation now, and it's incredibly tight, isn't it? Now we just said 6 points away from the championship leader, Prado, finishing 4th overall. But yeah, you were saying before, Mattia Guadagnini, you know, his confirmation pour of his 3rd place, 20 points, 3-3 on the day. You know, some questions, some, you know, doubts about him, whether he deserves that factory ride next to Jorge Prado, and today I think he showed he has the goods.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey Herlings then wins race 2, and with it his 102nd Grand Prix victory. Behind him, Ruben Fernandez, Mattia Guadagnini, Jeremy Seewer, good ride for him in 4th header. Prado, Koldenhoff, Ferrato, Valanen and Paturel, equally good for the Frenchman. Then we had Lupino, Guillot, Tom Cock, Mitch Evans, good to see him up there in 13th place. Michael Ivanov, Hardy Ruziorg, Ashton Dickinson, Kevin Spies, Kevin Brummer, Max Spies, Bogas and Timea Ubak. But the rest of the podium then, Jeffrey Herlings will stand on the top step of a podium for the 102nd time in his Grand Prix career, the most ever victories from a rider in this Motocross World Championship, passing Stefan Evert's record of 101 now. Mattia Guadagnini, on the other hand, his 1st podium in the Premier class, and Ruben Fernandez his 1st at home in Spain. So a weekend of firsts, and but none, I guess, more sort of special, more important than that 102 mark of Jeffrey Herlings. Jorge Prado, his lead has been slashed to 6 points, though. Herlings on the prowl and winning here in Spain.
Another first ball, 2 Spanish riders in the top 3 of the Premier Class World Championship standings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Ruben Fernandez now up into 3rd place, and helped by his podium here today. Of course, we've got to say, you know, commiserations to Romain Febvre and Maxime Renault not lining up, not having the chance to sort of defend their honour, if you like. Gas moved to the top of the Manufacturers' Championship. Look, edging out now Yamaha, so that's a change this weekend. KTM remained 3rd, but for how much longer? Take a look at the foxhole shot then, and right at the start of the race, Jeremy Seewer, 2 out of 2 now, and that's 4 for the season for the Monster Energy Yamaha rider. Definitely looks a little bit spent there.
Yeah, face says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. But Jorge Prado on 6, Seewer on 4, Febvre on 1. There's a few others there on 1 as well, including Glenn Koldenhoff down there at the bottom of the list.
I think Prado needed the whole shots today.
Yeah. If there was a time Jorge Prado needed those, you know, foxhole shots, he got them here today, as you just mentioned, and starts letting him down today. And for the first time this year, did not win a race, did not win the first race, keeping that streak going. But other riders just better than him on the day. And Ruben Fernandez, Team HRC, on the podium, 3rd overall. What a day for the young Spaniard. And great to see the whole Honda crew down there as well. It's been a tough year for them, but this guy really shining a light on them. Yeah,
I don't think we're likely to see the reigning world champion back in a hurry, Paul, recovering from that broken femur. So Fernandez is really doing his bit, you know, to wave the HRC flag.
Listen to the reception, Ruben. 2nd overall, Mattia Guadagnini, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, finally gets to view the podium in MXGP from there, and it's a 2nd step for the young Italian. Was it like 3-4 podiums in MX2, 5 maybe, but a couple of wins as well. But everybody stand up and take a bow for Jeffrey Herlings. Jeffrey Herlings stands on the top step of the podium. The 100 has been replaced with 102. The Red Bull KTM rider, his team manager, Antonio Cairoli himself, with 94 Grand Prix victories. And great to see those two up there on the podium.
Yeah, thankfully Tony is not such a big rider for statistics, but he is stuck on 94 and largely, you know, inhibited by Jeffrey Herlings in the last couple of years. He's taken more than a few wins at the Italians' expense. And Stefan Everts, of course, here this weekend, Paul, looking over the efforts of his son, Liam Everts, in MX2. I just wondered what he would think of, you know, his record being beaten, because when he said it at the end of 2006, you know, the last Grand Prix victory, you know, we thought it would never be toppled, and it has been.
315 podiums between Tony Cairoli and Jeffrey Herlings.
That's a lot of Prosecco or champagne or wherever's being sprayed.
Prosecco. Ruben Fernandez took his second place trophy a moment ago, and that will take pride of place on the mantelpiece, no doubt. Likewise for Mattia Guadagnini, second overall, his first for Red Bull Gas in the Premier class, and he has 2 weeks to recover from that one as well, so he might just go enjoy himself tonight, no doubt, and who would blame him?
And at last the results as impressive as the facial hair, so good effort by the Italian.
Jeffrey Herlings, for the 102nd time, lifts a winner's trophy above his head, this time in Spain, the second time here into Arroyo-Molinos, but Jeffrey Herlings, what a fantastic day here this weekend. Another winner's trophy for Antonio Cairoli as well, this time as team managers, racking those up as well, thick and fast.
Have we had a podium yet this year, Paul, without a Spanish rider?
Well, none, because Jorge Prado came here with 5 in a bounce, and now all of a sudden 6 in a row for a Spanish rider in MXGP.
Is it beyond the realms of possibilities that we get another Spanish Grand Prix on the calendar? I mean, we got up to the point where we had 3, you know, there was talk of even 4 Italian rounds at one stage on the calendar, and you know, now look where we are with Spanish motocross.
Jorge Prado continues to lead the championship, but he had a 17-point lead coming into this weekend. It's down to 6 as we leave for France in 2 weeks' time, but he does still have the advantage. The red plate still belongs on the front of the Red Bull Gas. We heard the Ruben chants. We're now listening to the Jorge chants. And if you've never been to an MXGP before, it's worth coming to somewhere like this if you know that the Spanish are going to be on the podium, like Jorge Prado and, of course, Ruben Fernandez, or France, where maybe Romain Febvre and Maxime Renault, or, you know, Jeffrey. It's a different vibe, different atmosphere, and absolutely fantastic to be a part of.
We saw a shot of him there just in the foreground, maybe in Germany with Simon Lagenfelder. Keeps riding like he does today in MX2.
Special presentation to Jeffrey Herlings. 102 Grand Prix victories. The new milestone has been reached. Number 84, Jeffrey Herlings, the Bullet, is the best in the business when it comes to Grand Prix victories, and he will celebrate tonight, I'm sure. Thanks, Adam Wheeler, for joining us here on TrackOffroad.com, but we'll enjoy the national anthems for Jeffrey Herlings of the Netherlands and KTM for Austria. It's been a fantastic Grand Prix here in Spain. On the top step of the podium for the 102nd time, flanked by Mattia Guadagnini and Ruben Fernandez. We saw an emotional Valentina Ragni down there. She has been with Jeffrey Herlings as his team coordinator for every single one of those 102 Grand Prix victories and 136 podiums now that the Bullet has. We'll talk to the top 3 in just a few moments. Next up, race highlights from MXGP Race 2. Congratulations to Ruben Fernandez as well, as he drops a bottle down there to his team. Congratulates Jeffrey Herlings. Fantastic to see the Spaniard on the podium at home here in front of his home fans. But that's the Spanish Grand Prix. Round 6 done in the box here at Into Xanadu Arroyo-Molinos. Jeffrey Herlings makes history, 102 Grand Prix victories, and the The rest, they say, is history. MXGP Race 2. Jeremy Seewer may have bagged the foxhole shot, but quick to take over the lead was the number 70 of Ruben, Fernandez. Closely followed by Seewer, and then Mattia Guadagnini. Guadagnini was lurking dangerously in the background, and so too was Fernandez. He and Seewer traded positions on the opening lap. But once he dropped back